Starting with this video class 12, I'm going to make a couple of videos dealing specifically with magnetism. First of all, let us start with some important things about magnetic field lines. Unlike electric field lines, magnetic field lines are closed. Electric field lines, we know, starts from the positive charge and ends on the negative charge. It doesn't again come back from the negative charge to the positive charge to form a closed loop. So therefore, remember, electric field lines are not closed lines or closed loops, whereas magnetic field lines are closed loops. Because outside the magnetic field lines are directed from the North Pole to the South Pole, whereas outside the magnetic field lines are directed from the South Pole to the magnetic dipole. Remember, any magnet is a magnetic dipole because any magnet will have two poles. Like I've already mentioned in one of the videos, we cannot have a magnetic monopole because in nature a magnetic monopole does not exist. Now, magnetic dipole can either be a current carrying loop or it could simply be a bar magnet. If it's a current carrying loop we are talking about, then the dipole moment of the current carrying loop is given by NIA, where N is the number of turns of the loop, I is the current flowing through it, and A is its area. Whereas if we are talking about the dipole moment of a bar magnet, which is like this, so this is the North Pole, this is the South Pole, and both the poles have the same magnitude, M. So the dipole moment of a bar magnet, like an electric dipole, is the product of one of the poles and the separation between them. And magnetic dipole moment is a vector quantity. It is always directed from the South Pole to the North Pole, remember that. Now let us see what the magnetic field at the end-on position of a magnetic dipole or a small bar magnet will be like. So we have a bar magnet, this is the North Pole, this is the South Pole of it, O is the central point of the bar magnet, and we want to find the magnetic field at point P, that is at the end-on position. Now according to the syllabus, you need not do any derivation for this, but you need to remember the final result. The magnetic field at the end-on position will be mu naught by 4 pi 2m upon r cube, where r is the separation between the center of the magnetic dipole and this point P here. M, of course, is the magnitude of one of the poles, and its direction will be from the South Pole to the North Pole. Likewise, the magnetic field intensity at the broadside on position of a bar magnet will be mu naught by 4 pi m upon r cube, directed from the North Pole to the South Pole. Now let us give a look at some of the technical terms related to magnetism, starting with B. Now we've used the term magnetic field intensity for B whenever we were calculating the magnetic field at a certain point due to a current carrying wire, or for that matter, whenever we are to find the magnetic field at a certain point due to a bar magnet. Therefore, in these cases, B is called magnetic field intensity. The other name for B is magnetic flux density. If phi m represents magnetic flux given by integration of B dot ds, then we know that the magnetic flux basically is the dot product of the magnetic field and the area. So B can be written as phi m upon A, which is the magnetic flux per unit area, or simply called magnetic flux density. And from this definition, we get the unit of B, which is Weber per meter squared, because Weber is the unit of magnetic flux, and Weber per meter squared is what is called a Tesla. Now the other name for B is magnetic induction. Now why is B called magnetic induction? Let us look into that. See, we have an iron bar and we place this iron bar in an external magnetic field, which is, as shown in this picture, directed towards our right hand side. So when we place an iron bar, it could be an iron nail that you place in an external magnetic field. After some time, what happens is you will see that the iron bar or the iron nail itself gets magnetized. So to say, when this iron bar is placed in the external magnetic field, it's like magnetism is induced in this iron bar. So the magnetism that is induced in the iron bar is what is called magnetic induction, denoted by a capital B. So depending on the different scenarios, B has different names, and all three are its valid names, remember. And this external magnetic field, or rather the external magnetizing field in which we are placing this iron bar, which is used to magnetize this iron bar, is called the magnetic intensity, or more precisely, the magnetizing field intensity, denoted by a capital H. So capital H here is the external magnetizing field, remember. Now we already know that a current carrying loop acts like a magnetic dipole. So to say, an electron going round about the nucleus in a certain orbit also acts like a magnetic dipole, because an electron is a charge, and when it is moving, this charge gives rise to flow of current, so to say. Therefore, an electron going round about the nucleus also acts like a magnetic dipole, and it also has its definite magnetic dipole moment, remember. Now, for substances like iron, which are readily attracted by a magnet, now these substances, they have their own atomic dipole moments. Since every electron going round about the nucleus we've seen acts like a magnetic dipole, now this magnetic dipole is represented by this arrow. But the atomic dipoles are oriented in all possible directions. Therefore, the net dipole moment in the substance is 0. Therefore, this substance itself does not act like a magnet. But when this very substance is placed in an external magnetizing field H, what happens is all of these atomic dipoles, they get aligned in a particular direction. In this case, all of the dipoles get aligned in such a way that they are directed towards our right hand side. Because remember, magnetic dipole moment is directed from the south pole to the north pole. So this end is the south pole and this end represents the north pole for these atomic dipoles. Such that on the whole now, this substance gets magnetized and this end acts as the south pole and this end acts as the north pole. Let us therefore talk about something called intensity of magnetization, denoted by a capital M. It is defined as the number of magnetic moment generated per unit volume of the magnetized substance is called intensity of magnetization. So how many dipole moments have been generated or have been aligned in a particular direction per unit volume is what is called intensity of magnetization. The more the dipole moments generated or aligned in a particular direction per unit volume, the more will be the intensity of magnetization. And mind you, more the intensity of magnetization, more will be the magnetic properties induced by the substance. So to say, more will be the magnetic induction. Let us now see what the relation between the intensity of magnetization, the magnetic induction, and the magnetizing field intensity H will be. Now we've already seen that whenever a substance like iron, which gets attracted by a magnet, is placed in an external magnetizing field, the substance itself gets magnetized. Now, the induced magnetism or magnetic induction that is generated in the substance itself is seen to be more than the external magnetizing field also. So to say, it has been seen that the magnetic induction is greater than the external magnetizing field also. Because the magnetic induction depends on the external magnetizing field also. More the external magnetizing field, more will be the magnetic induction. And also, magnetic induction depends on the intensity of magnetization. The more the number of dipoles generated per unit volume, the more the magnetic induction. So to say, B is directly proportional to the combination of intensity of magnetization and also the external magnetizing field. Therefore, we write B is proportional to M plus H, and this therefore is the relation where mu naught, of course, is the permeability of the medium and is also the constant of proportionality over here. So B is equal to mu naught into M plus H is the relation between B, M and H. Though we've already defined magnetic permeability, but still do remember the relation between magnetic permeability, the magnetic induction and the magnetizing field intensity. So to say, you also get the definition of magnetic permeability from here. It can be defined to be the ratio of the magnetic induction to the magnetizing field intensity. And finally, a new term you all are coming across. This is called magnetic susceptibility, denoted by a Greek letter psi m. This is psi psi, which is defined to be the ratio of the intensity of magnetization to the magnetizing field intensity. So psi m is equal to capital M divided by H. So these are the three important relations that we've learned here. Now we'll be using all of these three relations to find the relation between relative permeability mu r and the magnetic susceptibility psi m. So we've seen that B is mu naught into H plus M, which can be rewritten as mu naught into H plus psi m into H, because intensity of magnetization M is equal to psi m into H from the definition of susceptibility. So taking H common, we can write this. Now we take H to the other side, so B by H is mu naught into 1 plus psi m. But B by H from definition is the permeability. So mu is equal to mu naught into 1 plus psi m. And mu by mu naught from definition is the relative permeability. Therefore, we can write mu r is equal to 1 plus psi m. So this is the relation between relative permeability and magnetic susceptibility.